everyone. Welcome to my first ever video on YouTube. This is awkward. Sitting in front of a camera having a whole conversation, but it has to be done, right? So my video is going to be based on study skills, I guess, if I'm to put it that way, and my experience as far as how I managed to get through over the years. Didn't have it figured out. I was not a good student. No, last minute is how I survived most of the time. Literally, I did everything at the very last minute, and that's the worst thing that you can do in pharmacy school, right? So what I'm going to share is a few tips of what I did that I found helpful. Now, it might not be helpful for other people, but this is what worked for me when I found something that worked for me. It takes a lot of trying to find something that works for you, because there is a lot of content to learn. A lot of content to learn. And so you just need to try out what you can for as long as you can until you figure it out. Some people figure it out from the onset, they have it on lock. And some people like myself, it took a while, probably took 2 years for me to say, oh, okay, this is what works for me. And so I'm going to stick to it and hopefully be successful at it, right? So the first thing is books that you will need where studying is concerned. There are two main books, and I think a lot of pharmacy students will know of them, or those who have studied pharmacy previously will know of these books. And I kid you not, everybody needs these books, right? So the first one is Rangendale Pharmacology. This right here has everything you will ever need whilst in pharmacy school for your 4 years. Everything, absolutely everything, because it covers everything. I don't know how else to put it, but it covers essentially everything. Especially now that, you know, a lot of universities are on this case-based study way of teaching. It makes life so much easier when it comes to using this book. Because, for example, if you are, say, studying a case on, how do I put it, kidney function or the kidney, there's a chapter on kidney or the kidneys just on its own. So you can always just go back and refer to that. Every information that you will need is there. Information to do with your pharmacokinetics, your pharmacodynamics, everything is there. Information on, drug metabolism, I don't know, everything is in there. So definitely this book will be very useful during your studies throughout, the 4 years, right? And then the next book that is important and useful to have is Alton's Pharmaceuticals. Again, this one right here. Like, you just will not go wrong with it, right? So this essentially covers everything to do with drug formulation, drug everything. So, for example, what can I say? So everything to do with formulation, different types of formulation, be it your injections, your suppositories, your tablets, everything of that sort is all in there. It does cover some microbiology as well. It covers dosage, form and design manufacture, which you definitely will do and cover, because remember, in as much as you may sit and think, well, why am I learning about drug design and manufacture if I'm going to be working at Lloyd's or if I'm going to be working at Boots? I'm not really going to, need to do anything that is centered around that. But there are people or students who or want to go into industries, so it's very important that they also have that knowledge. But obviously, I guess for them it's difficult, the universities, to teach certain things and not teach other things, or just teach them to certain students who may be interested in it. So everybody just has to learn it, and you find that as you learn it, you probably will enjoy that. It was like that for me as well initially. Like, I don't really care about drug design and manufacturing, but as time went, I really started enjoying it. Absolutely loved it. So yeah, these two definitely you will need: Rangandel and Alton's Pharmaceutics, right? And then another book that I went and purchased. Now, you may not necessarily need to purchase it, but the demand at my school for this book was very high, and you could only have it, I think you could only have it on loan for 7 days, and 7 days is not a long time where a topic is complicated, such as that of immunology. I just never was able to get my head around immunology. I struggled, and so I went out and I purchased it. It wasn't too expensive. I think it was about £30, if I'm not mistaken, thereabouts. Yeah, £30, no more than £30 is how much it was. And it's very helpful because it breaks down all things immunology very well, very well. It's not too complicated to understand. It's pretty simple to get through. Again, I just didn't like immunology, so I struggled with it naturally, but this book was quite helpful, and I think it's worth getting if you really want to be on top of your immunology game. I definitely think it's worth getting, so I would recommend this book as well for your studies, because immunology does not go away in pharmacy. I think from year 2, year 3, immunology consistently came up and up and up and up and up. So it gets harder. So it was worth definitely purchasing this book, right? And then another purchase that I made, if I can find it, was this one here, Top 100 Drugs. Now, this I think is important for everyone to have, whether you're a pharmacy student or a medicine student or a physician associate, even a nurse. I think this book is worth having, because these top 100 drugs are drugs that you will come across pretty much almost every day of your life in practice, or on a very regular basis, right? And what I like about this book is that it's designed in such a way that you have literally all the information you need, right? So for example, it's divided into say how do I put it? So say ACE inhibitors. So you have all the drugs that that fall under that category. So your ramiprils, and it will give what do you call it, the clinical pharmacology. So you know the common indications for it, you will know the mechanism of action, you will know the adverse effects that come with it, the warnings, interactions. It has all of that. And then it will also give you information on how to administer, how to monitor, and the cost. So literally, it's a very handy book to have because it's got every information that you will need, and it's easy to, you know, maneuver around. It's easy, you know, it's like a simplified version of the BNF, if that makes sense, with more information. So I think it's definitely worth having. And also the other good thing about it is that when you purchase this book, you also are able to have a copy of it on your iPad or your laptop. So in the event that you don't want to be carrying this book around with you, and you've got your iPad and your laptop that you use at school and whatnot, you can always just refer to your gadget for all the information that you need. So I definitely think that it's important to have. And also because for OSCE preparation, OSCEs can be very hard to prepare for. So if you've got something like this that already breaks everything down for you, you already know that when it comes to OSCE, or when it comes to you doing your OSCE exams, you have pretty much all the information you need. And you can just, you know, work with it that way. And I think you definitely will be able to get through your OSCE exams with it. It's honestly the most simplest of books that anybody could use. So I definitely suggest that if you can purchase this one, do. And it's so inexpensive. I think it was like £10. So inexpensive, and will save you a lot of time, a lot of stress. Going on Drug Bank was a bit of a mission for me because sometimes it doesn't have all the information you need, but you know, it still does have everything that you need in order for you to understand at least what's going on. So I definitely would recommend having this book, and it's easy to use alongside your BNF as well. So yeah, think about it. So yeah, so that's all with regards to the books that will be useful whilst you're in school. I'm pretty sure there's many other books as well that can be used, but these, I say, for me, were the main important books, because I mean the first two, Rang and Dow, Pharmacology and Pharmaceuticals, pretty much has everything that you need where studying is concerned. So I don't see why you would want to get another book, but that's not to say you shouldn't. All I'm saying is that I feel like every information that you need is in here, and it's explained extensively to the point whereby sometimes I felt like there was just too much information. I really don't want to be going through all of that information. I just need to know the little that I need to know in order for me to understand what's going on and to make it through an exam, right? So yeah, these are the books. I recommend them. But if you can, probably the first two, you probably don't need to buy them because they are quite expensive. You probably would find them in your library. But if you can avoid buying them, I would personally avoid buying them. However, these two, I think, are probably worth you spending money over. But the other two, you definitely will find them in the library, most definitely. Might not be the most latest of editions, but I don't think it matters essentially because the information is somewhat still the same. It is the same. So I don't think it really matters whether it's, you know, edition 2 versus edition 7. The information is still the same. So yeah, that's what I advise for books for anybody who's about to start pharmacy school and is wondering, what books do I need to use? What books do I need to buy? What books don't I need to buy? These are the main ones. Of course, once you get to school, your tutors or lecturers will also advise you more on what other books you might need to help you with your study. So yeah, so with regards to study methods, the method that I found to have worked for me involved a few steps, right? So naturally you go to a lecture, and when you're in the lecture you make notes, And I also found recording to be very useful because everything is going by quickly. You can't ask the lecturer to stop for a minute because you need to finish writing down your sentence, right? So I would record the lectures, and then after that is done, when I'm making notes, I would listen back to what was spoken about. So during the lecture, obviously, so like for example, this was like my lecture, these are like lecture slides, so I would make notes on that, and remember, this is very vague. So after that, I would then go and expand on those notes. Then what I would do is I would formulate questions based off of what was being said on the lecture. So if, say, the lecture was talking about ointments and conditions that are suitable to be treated with ointment, my question that I would formulate probably would be, state 3 conditions that are suitable to be used with ointments, if that makes sense. So that way I end up knowing what the lecture was about word by word, because the questions that I formulated were based off of it. And then what I would then do is I would print off maybe about 6 copies of those questions that I would have formulated, and I would repeat those over and over and over again. So I may do one after I've finished a lecture, right? And then maybe do another set of questions 2 days later, and do another set of questions a few more days later. So I'm constantly repeating the same thing, and it's sticking as I go. So that's what I found to be helpful, because what I used to do before is I'd write down notes, and then when it came back to now preparing for exams, a month before exams, you've got so many notes that you have to go through, and trying to read them all was a bit daunting for me. And so by having the questions that I'd formulated, it made life a bit easy, because it was somewhat still the same thing, right? I would just read through the question, have the answers there, read through the answers, then okay, I have it figured out. But I still would make notes expanding on what would have been spoken about in the lecture, or what was on the lecture slide. So that's what I found to be helpful for me, formulating questions, repeating those questions, because essentially repetition is what makes everything stick. So when you come across something in the exam, you know it because you've done it over and over and over again. Now, that might not necessarily work for everything, especially where chemical structures are concerned, or where you may need to do certain calculations. It doesn't work for everything, but for basic content, basic theory, yes, it did work. But when it came to, say, maybe having to work out pKa, then now that's a different situation. You just need to be able to figure out and know how to work out pKa for a particular structure or a particular drug, whatever the case may be. So that's what I did that I found to have worked for me. And then I also had record cards, right? These ones here. So I would make write down the most important information on these, and I'll stick it to the questions or my notes that I would have made. And so I can always refer back to this in the event that I'm traveling and I can't carry my folders and all that sort of thing. I would always just refer back to this, and that also was quite helpful. And sometimes I would write questions on these as well, and just clip them, have them in my bag. Whenever I'm not busy doing anything, I'll just go through them, right? So that information again is still getting in the head, because it's repetition. Repetition is key when it comes to you, I think personally anyways, being successful in your exams. You can't do something once and expect for it to stick. I don't know. For some, maybe that works, but for me, there was just no way that would have worked, because like I said earlier on, the content in pharmacy is just too much at times. So it's always good to refer back to the work that you will have done, refer back to those questions that you will have formulated. If it's a situation whereby you can get past examination papers, that's great. Then you don't necessarily have to formulate as much questions. But for us, we didn't really get a lot of past examination papers. We only got like a few summative questions that you could do online, but that wasn't enough. So, you know, people like me were then forced to have to come up with questions that would essentially help where exams were concerned. So yeah, those are my tips on what basically studying was like for me, and I've also given you books or recommended books that you can use to aid with your studying. And I think honestly with that, you're good. You definitely are good. If it means you need to modify it to make it suit you best, by all means do it. But this is just me giving you an idea of one of the many things that you can do in order for you to be successful at school. And this is not only just for pharmacy school. I think it goes for anybody else who's in school trying to figure it out. It works. It works if it is done properly, and if you're consistent in what it is that you're doing, it works. So yeah, thank you for watching, and hopefully I'll see you on another video. Until next time.